Welcome to the Pinnacle Columbus. I am your host, AC Dunlap, and I'm so excited today to be sitting down with one of Columbus's most influential people. I'm one of a transformative leader who is literally changing lives, and that is Tauana McDonald, CEO of Mount Carmel Health System, one of the largest healthcare providers here in Columbus, and where they have over 10,000 employees and are really serving the Columbus community in a massive way. Hello, Tauana.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. We know you are very, very busy.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today.
Well, thank you. We're going to get into asking you some questions about healthcare and just even as far as Mount Carmel, but we want to start with a little bit about you. So I want to ask you first, who is Tauana McDonald?
Tauana McDonald is a mom. She's a wife. She's a lover of travel, and she is a professional who is blessed to be able to serve in healthcare and work with people at their most vulnerable time. So that's who Tauana McDonald is.
Wow, that's a well-rounded person.
Try to be.
Definitely encompasses a lot. Now, I believe you're from Cincinnati, Ohio.
I am.
Can you share with us a little bit about how you got to Columbus and what brought you here?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Cincinnati. I had one sibling, brother, and but a big extended family. So had great experiences growing up. Real tight knit family. My mom was from Savannah, so I spent my summers in Savannah, and then my rest of my year in Cincinnati. I always wanted to be a physician, so I decided to spread my wings when I graduated from high school and head west. I saw palm trees and sunshine and thought that was for me. And so I went to Stanford and I was pre-med. And I realized in my senior year of college that I loved science and I loved healthcare, but what I didn't like was touching people. So I thought, hands-on healthcare, I was like, do I have to actually touch them? That's probably not gonna be for me. So I remember calling my mom and my grandmother and saying that, I know I said I was going to go to medical school, but I don't think this is for me. And my mother said to me, we always knew that about you, but you need to come to that yourself. So you just need to figure out what your path is. So I did the most logical thing. I got a job at IBM selling computers. Nothing to do with what I went to school for. But what I recognized quickly was that I like to use technology to help people solve their business problems. But I was working in the telecommunications industry, Cincinnati Bell at the time, and was my client. And I recognized that I still wanted to do healthcare, and how could I do it in a business way. So I decided to go to that school up north, in that city up north, and I went to the University of Michigan and got my master's in health administration. And that really started me on my healthcare journey. So I spent, while I was in Michigan, I met my husband, who is an Ann Arbor native, and so we ended up settling in Ann Arbor. After I finished graduate school, I went to work for Deloitte Consulting, and so I was doing all healthcare consulting and loved it. But during that time, I got married, and I had 2 children, and what I recognized is I couldn't be on the road. Yeah. And so I actually stepped away. And I spent 3 years at home raising my children until my daughter was old enough to go to daycare, to preschool. And then I started at Trinity Health, which is the parent company of Mount Carmel. And I worked in the Michigan area. I had been at the corporate office for about 14 years and really recognized that I wanted to get closer to the bedside. Mm-hmm. So there was an opportunity here in Columbus that opened up, and I made a call and had a conversation, and we realized that this would be a good opportunity for me, and I brought something to them from coming from the system office, and thought I'd be here for about 2 years, and 9 years later, I'm still here, and it was the best move I've ever made. So that's how I ended up in Columbus.
That's good. Can you talk to me a little bit, you mentioned as far as your family, and even how things shifted, as far as your life. Talk to me about passion. What does passion look like for you?
For me, passion is it's being able to do something you love, but also it's being able to see how you make a difference. And so for me, that has always been what's driven me, is how can I help others? I've always been passionate about that. From a young age, my parents always made us do service. And so we would go to church, and then my mom would make sure that we fed all the older people in the church, and she'd send us with plates, like, you go down the street and you take this and go over here. And so, and I could see how much that meant to people. And so for me, passion was, how could I take something that I have a gift for, or how I can, something that I've been given, and help others. And so that's really how passion shows up for me.
You've been referred to, I was reading your bio, and some of the words that were used, it says, with a thoughtful and value-driven approach. Along the lines of what you were saying, talk to me about how that perspective helps you serve people.
I do believe that we are all here to help others. I mean, and you need to find however that is for you, whatever your gift is. And so for me, that value of being helpful to people has really driven how I show up and how I lead. I tell people all the time that I try to lead from behind, which means I try to help others grow because when I leave Mount Carmel, I want there not to be a beat skipped, that the next person is here and the patients are still being taken care of and all of that. And so for every role that I've had in my career, that's how I've done it, because it's all about helping people do the best that they can. And so what's really the way I think about it, especially because of the work I do in healthcare, I'm not a clinician. I don't touch patients. I can't take care of a patient. But what I can do is do whatever I can to help all those that take care of the patients, that help them pay their bills, that feed them, that clean the rooms, that I can do whatever I can to make sure that they can do that the best that they can, so that the patient has the best experience. And so, and that's all about, growing up with the values of doing whatever you can to make it better for those that are that you're either responsible for or coming behind you.
As maybe even thinking about other people that are aspiring to climb the corporate ladder, what are maybe some strategies that you have used that might be beneficial to those people?
So a few things. I tell people to bloom where you're planted. So you're not always going to get that first, that dream job or that dream assignment. But wherever you land, do the best that you can, and people will notice. The other thing is, I always step outside of your comfort zone. If you don't step outside of your comfort zone, that's really where growth happens. And I know it's scary, but that's really where you need to grow, and that's how you're going to do it. I had an experience early in my career where there was an assignment that I wanted, but I didn't get it. And I remember going and asking my boss, and they said, well, you didn't step up and say you wanted to do that. You didn't, you were doing what you do every day, but you didn't, come forward and say that I wanted to do that. And at that moment, I knew I'm going to ask, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone, because the answer is always no if you don't ask. And so I tell people to do that. And then it's also important to build relationships. I think people will tell you the two things that people know me for: relationships and results. And part of the way I get results is because I have relationships. The people that helped me from the beginning of my career, I'm still in touch with. I still, build relationships because, every day, it's all about human interaction. And you can be the smartest person in the room, but if people don't like you or people don't feel confident in you, they're not going to do what you need them to do. And so as people are growing in their career, I tell them, build those relationships. And then the last thing I would say is, do what you say you're going to do. If you commit to something, do it. You want to be seen as somebody who's reliable, who people can count on, and that people feel comfortable that if they give you something and leave it in your hands, it's going to be done, and it's going to be done well.
That's good. Those are great pieces. How has that particular approach helped you in serving the employees of Mount Carmel, and then in turn helping you all serve Columbus?
So a few things. I really try in terms of when I said you need to bloom where you're planted, I really do try to find, people sit in different roles and may not, I see talent in people that they don't see in themselves.
Yeah.
And I have made an effort to go and actually put people in different positions and give them opportunities to help them grow. I also, one of the other things that I do is I really do try to give feedback, because if nobody tells you that what you didn't really cut the mustard, or what you did, or that what you did was great, so it builds your confidence. You didn't know. Somebody would say, "Oh, I didn't get that job because of that." If somebody had just told me that I wasn't doing this better, I would have worked on that. And so, as a leader, I try to give honest feedback and give it in the moment. I had an executive coach who said to me once, "Clear is kind." And being clear is kind. And so that's one of the things that I try to do for people that are coming along, is to be clear about what they do well and what they can do better.
That's good. How has mentorship played a part in your life, whether you being mentored by someone else or you being the mentor for some people?
Both ways. I have had tremendous mentors my whole life. I've been very blessed. And I would also say I've had sponsors, and those aren't the same thing. I've had people who've given me career advice, but I've also had people who said, "I'm going to make it my mission to help you get to the next level because I'm confident in what you do and I want to help you grow." And so I've tried to do that for others too. So, we have a lot of formal mentor programs. I don't participate because I mentor everybody. I said, if I participate in the mentoring program, I was telling somebody this recently, that limits me to the number of people that I can mentor. And I really do feel like if people come to me, I mentor them. And the one thing that I will say is that I learn just as much from my mentees, I think, as they learn from me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Relationships are really so important, and you've talked about it even throughout this interview. And so I want to talk a little bit about AI, and maybe even as far as technology. I remember briefly back in 2000 when things were changing, and on the front of the Columbus Dispatch, they had this whole big article as if, as people, we would no longer be needed, but yet here we are. And so how is AI and that technology affecting healthcare, and how is healthcare changing?
So, healthcare is not immune. AI is permeating everything. And what's going to happen, or what's happening in healthcare, is we will always need people. We will always need people. But what it will help our caregivers to do is it can help you gather information. So we use it a lot to help our caregivers to be more efficient. We can use it a lot for our billing, those kinds of things. It will allow people to spend more time with the patient versus doing a lot of the clerical kinds of things. Over time, I do think AI is going to evolve to help us with diagnoses, to gather from the medical record all the different information from all the different parts of the medical record, to bring that story together so that the caregiver, so that the physician or the nurse practitioner, whoever is in that record caring for that patient, can have that information right at their fingertips in an easier way. But we will need people. Because healthcare is it's a human sport.
Absolutely.
Right? And then people at their time of need, a computer's not going to sit next to them, especially when the news isn't good. We're always going to need people.
Absolutely. So you have had the opportunity to look from different lenses. So you've worked in different places, and as you climb the ladder, the lens looks different at level 3 than it does at level 10. And so kind of share with us maybe what has been the most challenging part of your job?
So for me, the most challenging part of my job is to leave the details to someone else, right? So my job, I like the details. I like to be the person that goes in when there's an issue and solves the problem, and that is not my job anymore, right? I'm focusing more on strategy, making sure that we are going to be here to care. So we are 140 years old.
Wow.
Mount Carmel is 140 years old this year, and that we are setting ourselves up to be here for another 140 years, that we are serving the community. And so making sure that the people that are providing the care, that are leading the hospitals and our physicians and our medical offices have what they need. It's not the day-to-day, is not my role anymore, but I love that role. And it was hard for me when I stepped away from the hospital president role into this role to kind of leave that behind. And I'll share a funny story with you. I remember when I first came into this role, Alicia is my administrative assistant, and she's been here many, many years. And something happened at one of the hospitals, and then somebody called me, and I jumped up, and I got my coat, and she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Grove City." She said, "No, you're not. They have a hospital president, and that is not your job, and they're going to handle it." And I sat there, and I said, "What? But no, but I need to go help." So that has been the hardest thing for me.
Okay.
But I do take time because what I love is being close to the patient. That's one of the things that I love about working at Mount Carmel. Is that, I get to go in the hospital and you hear patients and families tell you how great the care was, or thank you for what they did, or even when something isn't right, when the diagnosis isn't good, that you can try your best to get them the resources that they need and to comfort them. And so I do get to take time to try to go do that, but I miss being able to do that more like on a daily basis.
That's so good. That speaks to the heart of who you are. Definitely. Talk to me a little bit about the uniqueness. There are different healthcare systems here in Columbus, but the uniqueness maybe of Mount Carmel.
Yep.
And then what is the heart of Mount Carmel?
So, as I said, Mount Carmel has been here 140 years, and we were started by the women religious, by sisters.
Yeah.
And they came here, what I say, with very little resource. I said that they started a health system with bubblegum and tape. People hear me say that all the time. And when they were planning the opening, and people came to the doors and they didn't have beds, right? And they went and got in the community and got beds. They slept on the floor and put the patients in the beds. And that is Mount Carmel still today. Mount Carmel, really, if you know us, we have a community health and well-being arm that really, we go beyond the walls of the hospital, because we serve mind, body, and spirit. It's just not it's just not it's all of that makes up the person, and it's that respect for human dignity. And I think that's what makes Mount Carmel different. And we provide radically compassionate care.
I love that.
Radically compassionate care. And so, and that to me is what makes Mount Carmel different. And I really feel like the spirit of the sisters is always here. Like that, the reason that they came, we're still doing that. You hear people talk about the social determinants of health, that because if we send you home and you don't have food to eat and you don't have a place to live, that's not health. That's not healthy. So those things, we've been working on those things since we opened, making sure that people had a place to live. We go out to the land where people are living on the land. Even during COVID, we didn't stop. And we took care of patients. We made sure that the community had health care. And so I think that's what makes Mount Carmel different.
Wow. So what's next for Mount Carmel?
So, Columbus is continuing to grow, and Mount Carmel is growing. We want to make sure that we're able to provide that radically compassionate care everywhere throughout the city. And, we opened a hospital, we opened Dublin in April, or last April. And, within Central Ohio, there is a Mount Carmel hospital or care site within 10 minutes for anybody who lives within the Central Ohio community. So what we want to do is make sure that we are serving the community. What's next for Mount Carmel is care looks different now, right? Yeah. So as technology evolves, as care is done more in the home and care is more done in the outpatient setting, that we are able to meet people where they are and provide care in all those settings. And so we are adapting our care to meet the needs of the community.
Love that, love that. Definitely anticipating what's next.
Yes.
So a couple more personal things
Sure,
just about you.
Absolutely.
So talk about, what is your favorite food?
So my favorite food is Skyline chili.
Ah,
I
okay.
love that's my Cincinnati thing. I love Sky. Nobody else in my family likes it. I love Skyline chili. Favorite food.
Nice. So what do you do to relax while you're eating your Skyline jelly?
So I love word games and trivia games. So I play a lot of Scrabble. I play a lot of. I do Wordle every day. I do connections, all the New York Times, like puzzles, all those things. I like to do those kinds of things. I love to read. I would say that I don't get to read as much for pleasure as I used to. I read more healthcare stuff. But when I go on vacation, love to sit on the beach and
Nice.
just, read a book that's mindless. And I'm a shopper.
Okay.
I am. I'm a
Consider
shopper.
DNA.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Nice. So what makes you laugh?
My kids. I have 2 grown children, but they're always kids to me.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for them because talk about people who keep you grounded and make you look at the world in a different way
Yeah.
and kind of question, make you, think about how I lead. But my kids make me laugh. They do. They just the stories they tell me as I watch them navigate their lives, and they help me not take myself too seriously.
Yeah.
So, I would say that my kids make me laugh.
That's good. I have all of my children are grown too. It's definitely a different level as they grow. It's
It
a
is.
different level of even relationship.
It is.
How has your family helped to fuel where you are right now?
So, there's one thing that I don't talk to anyone without telling them about my grandmother. So my grandmother, her name was Florence Ferguson, and she was born in 1913, and she died in 2021 at 108,
Wow.
completely in her right mind. And she was probably the biggest force, beyond my parents that shaped my life. And so she was born in 1913. She was the youngest of 5 kids. She had 4 brothers. Her mother died when she was 2. Her brothers had no daughters, and my grandmother had only sons. I am the first girl born in the family after her, because I'm the oldest child of her oldest son. And so we had a special bond, and then there were no other grandchildren born until 6 years later after me. And so I learned I was Miss Lady. I tell people I don't even think my grandmother knew my name. I was Miss Lady. And my grandmother told me I could do anything. And what I loved about my grandmother was she grew up in a time where she didn't have the opportunities that I had, but she was going to make sure that any opportunity that came my way, I was able to, take advantage of it. And so she was somebody who's pivotal. Anybody who knows me knows about my grandmother. I talk about her all the time. So many lessons in my life. And she was really the center of our family. And, just really grateful.
Nice. What advice would you give to young women who are just aspiring to fulfill their purpose, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in life? What advice would you give to them?
I would tell them you are enough today. Women are always waiting. I just need to do this one more thing. I just need to get this one more degree. I just need this one. Go for what you want. You are ready today.
That's good.
You are ready today. And I tell, and I learned, because I was that person who, I need to do these 2 things, or I need to, and I had a woman say that to me. No, you don't. She said, if there's a job, you will look at it and a man will say, oh, I can do those 2 things. I'm overqualified. And a woman would say, out of the 10, they could do 2 of the 10. And a woman will say, I only have 9 of the 10, so I have to wait till I get the 10th. Yeah. And so what I tell women is all the time, you are enough today. Go for it. Go for your passion. You are enough today.
Amen. You are enough today. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about, I know we talked about reading a little bit. We talked about, you said you'd be on the beach and reading. What's the last book maybe that you've read that's been the most impactful to you in a casual way?
The last book, that's really an interesting one. So there's an author, Malcolm Gladwell, and really there's a book, Blink. And it really is about how you look at the world in a different, look at the world in a different way. Not just your, I'm trying to think about the best way to explain it. He comes at things, the things that you think are simple or obvious are not so simple or obvious.
Okay.
And it helps me to think about that when I look at situations that I'm dealing with. So that probably is a book that stands out to me, is Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah.
That's a good one, a good concept,
Yeah.
something to think about. So as you're busy, you have to do a lot of things throughout your day, from family to business. Kind of share with us, what is a typical day like for you?
So a typical day, I start my day at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And that is not because of the job I have. That is because I have always been that person. I'm an early riser. And I wake up just naturally at 3 o'clock. And I would love to tell you that I get up at 3 o'clock and I go to the gym and I work out. That's what I aspire to do.
Okay.
I actually get up and I will, the first thing I do actually is check my email, which I'm really working hard to stop that. But I have started now doing workouts in the morning. So not as consistent as I should do it, because I say what I'm going to do when I get home, and that doesn't work out as well. So, but I get to work early. So I'm generally at work by 6:30 or so every day. And that allows me to kind of go through my calendar, through my email before the day gets started. I like that. That's my quiet time. I also do reflection. I spend a little bit of time in reflection. I'm a very spiritual person. And so that's my time to kind of, be with myself and think about, what is it, my days, what do I want to accomplish today? And how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up? And so I do that. And then I drink coffee. So I prefer coffee to food. And I spend a lot of time drinking coffee. I do a lot of, I'm in meetings, I'm out and about in the community. And then what I try to do is every night, one of the things now that my kids are grown and gone, my husband, we try to be very intentional to find some time. Both of us are very busy people that we connect every day. And so our thing is, even though it can be hard, I grew up watching the evening news with my parents, and that's just a thing. So we kind of review our day and watch the evening news, kind of talk about the state of the world, and then that's where I try to do my word games and things like that. So that's really kind of a typical day. On my drives, because I do a lot of driving, is when I try to connect with my family and folks, my kids, in between. So that's that human connection, because that's very important to me, is to be connected to my friends and my family.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us.
Oh,
we appreciate
absolutely.
it. And we're just looking forward to what Mount Carmel is going to do in the future, even as it relates to our community.
Well, thank you. Thank you.